With every minute passing by, Alexandr could feel his muscles getting more tense because of the door's weight. And with every second his mind was flooded with thoughts about the imminent danger the radiation posed. Yevchenko could only wait and pray that his colleagues would be safe, and that they would return quickly. Hello guys. As in the previous weeks, today we continue the Chernobyl Operators mini-series. If you watched the last episode, you probably know very well how brave they were. I have told you about two operators in particular, Alexandr Yevchenko and Yuri Tregub. Thanks to their dedication, they were the first ones to witness the terrible sight of the damage the Chernobyl disaster had made. They saw how thousands of Röntgen per hour escaped the destroyed RBMK reactor and the pillar of blue-white light that it made in the night sky over the nuclear power plant. Today, you will hear more about their sacrifice. You will learn that despite they could have suspected a deadly danger lurking around every corner, they didn't back away. They pushed forward, even though they probably knew how it was going to end for them. Please sit comfortably and enjoy this video. It's a grim story again, but it's so important that we have to speak about it. In the whole Chernobyl disaster story there are a lot of numbers and facts. Yet the sacrifice of particular people is often overlooked or mostly omitted at best. That's why we want to cover it in detail, so we can understand why their story matters. Let's start. Chernobyl Operators, Part 4. The Jammed Steel Door. Just after dragging Yevchenko around the corner to provide at least some minimal safety, Tregub realized what they had just seen. They saw their own end, possibly the same as thousands of people if only the worst-case scenario had really happened. After witnessing the apocalyptic, destructive power of the Soviet RBMK reactor, they both understood that Unit 4 was gone. Alexandr and Yuri ran back into the plant, partially because they lingered for at least the weakest feeling of relative safety. But they also wanted to report what they had just seen, and to warn everybody about the irreversible damage done to the reactor and what it meant for everybody in the power plant, in Pripyat, and maybe in the whole of Ukraine and Belarus. Before they reached the control room of what was left of the Unit 4 building, they were stopped by another Chernobyl operator. They met Yevchenko's leader, Valery Perevoschenko. He was the supervisor of the reactor section on the night shift during that fatal event. They were somewhat surprised to see the supervisor had company. Two trainee engineers sent by Dyatlov to lower the reactor control rods manually accompanied him. Yevchenko quickly asked what were they all sent to do, and when he heard Dyatlov's order, he immediately tried to stop them. After all, their mission was completely pointless. The control rods no longer existed, the same as the RBMK nuclear reactor. Even if that wasn't the case, lowering the rods manually would have been impossible since their own weight couldn't let them slide inside the core, and each of those was hundreds of kilograms. But Perevoschenko insisted. We don't know if he was skeptical regarding their report, or if he wasn't sure but didn't want to take the risk. He only pointed out that the two operators had seen the reactor from below, while their task required them to check the damage from above. Imagine seeing the damage beyond the point of return. Flames everywhere, sparks coming out of destroyed cables, water and steam getting away in every direction, the ionizing glow, the pillar of unnatural light coming out of where the reactor should be. Imagine telling this to your supervisor, who doesn't believe you at all, or at least he isn't sure you weren't injured or in such a shock that you didn't really know what you have seen. You are both working in a nuclear power plant, and what you have said should start an immediate alert across not only the plant itself, but also across all neighboring cities, districts, and even countries. Both Yuri and Alexander knew that if the other 3 operators proceeded to the reactor hall, they would possibly acquire such huge radiation doses that it could mean their immediate deaths. Yet, they didn't listen. Perevozchenko had his orders, and we don't know why he didn't put more faith in the 2 operators' report. Maybe he was afraid about what could happen if they were wrong. Yuvchenko and Tregub couldn't stop them by force. There was no time nor the opportunity to do so. They did the only thing they could. They could only continue their rush toward the control room. But while Tregub had done so, Yuvchenko felt responsible for his 3 colleagues and offered to guide them to the reactor hall. After all, they would spend much more time trying the same path he and Yuri earlier tried. And each additional minute meant more ionizing radiation getting into their bodies and killing them. Without any hesitation, he departed with Tregub and helped Perevozchenko and 2 trainees find a way into the reactor hall. They had orders. No matter how irrelevant and wrong they were, they had at least to try to obey them. Besides, Yuvchenko was the only one out of 4 of them who had a working flashlight. Together, they started to wade through the destroyed corridors and into the staircase, from Mark +12 to Mark +3.5. 9 floors of radiation, debris, fires, steam and smoke. When they walked toward the destroyed reactor hall, Yuvchenko was the last in line. They were trapped in a maze of collapsed walls, blown piping, and twisted steel wreckage. Finally, they reached the massive airlock door. That was a sign that they arrived at their destination. The reactor hall was just behind this door. It was designed to last in highly extreme conditions, made of thick, heavy steel plates, with every inch between them filled with concrete. The door was enormous and weighed multiple tons. As they approached, they saw that the mechanism used to hold it open was destroyed in the explosion. There was nothing they could do. Even if all 4 would have tried, there was no chance that the door would move even by an inch. The good thing was that it was open. You may think that it's everything they needed. Yet, imagine a scenario when something unfortunate happened and they would close shut. Nothing they could use at that place and time would move them, and they would be trapped inside the reactor hall. Nonetheless, Perevozchenko and the 2 trainees agreed that if they came so far, they had to proceed further. If anything bad happened, Yuvchenko was to stay outside and guard the door. If needed, he would get help. Alexander was a fairly big man, strong and athletic, so he used all of his strength to keep the door from closing. The 3 operators stepped over the threshold and vanished into the reactor hall. With every minute passing by, Alexander could feel his muscles getting more tense because of the door's weight. And with every second, his mind was flooded with thoughts about the imminent danger the radiation posed. Yuvchenko could only wait and pray that his colleagues would be safe, and that they would return quickly. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned many new things about the brave Chernobyl operators, and now you understand a bit better how strong they had to be physically and mentally to do what they had done. The next episode in this mini-series is already scheduled for next Sunday, so stay in touch. Also, as always, I encourage you to check our game, Chernobylite, if you haven't done so yet. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter or TikTok too. In the upcoming weeks and months, we will have a great deal of new information for you regarding our work. That's it for today, guys. Take care, stay safe, and see you next week.